friends, it's your friend Liz here. I want to talk about working in a toxic working environment. We've all been there, and if you haven't experienced it, I'm glad you didn't. It is the worst experience that you ever would imagine. Waking up in the morning, dragging yourself to work, knowing that we all have to pay bills, but there's a limit. There's a limit in working in a place like that. No matter what, I'm telling you, no matter what, if your manager doesn't like you and you do everything for them and you keep on doing your work and extra work, if they don't like you and they're not going to promote you and you're asking for a raise because they're giving you more work, I'm going to let you know they're not going to give you that promotion. Waiting for the right opportunity in that company will be waste of time because there's no way they're going to promote you and give you what you want if your upper leaders are not giving you that support. They don't acknowledge you. They treat you like crap constantly. They're not going to care. They're not going to care to take care of you. You're just a number in that company. And just to let you know, that's not the only opportunity that's out there. And when you realize that's not the only opportunity out there, you are going to get a better, you're going to be in a better place and you're going to find a better opportunity out there for you where they're going to give you that office by the window. They are going to give you that promotion. They are going to acknowledge you. Let me tell you, talk for experience. I worked in two toxic work environments, two, and it was not easy. One was during the pandemic, and yes, I was grateful to have a job when everybody was furloughed during the pandemic, but it wasn't easy. I was overworked. I went to my manager at the time. I was working in a small practice. The doctor was a horrible doctor to work for. There was a huge overturn in the office. So the only workers that were there was just two workers. And for some reason, she wanted me to do the front and the back end, which was impossible. It was just impossible. And when I went to her and asked her for a raise because I was being overworked, I was not being acknowledged as a great worker. I felt exhausted mentally and emotionally for the whole world to be changing because it was during the pandemic. I was going through my personal issues as well. And there was no emotional support. She said no, that she couldn't give me a raise, but that she wanted to overwork me. So I was basically stuck because, as you know, during the pandemic, there was no opportunities. The world was closing. The world, it was going through a tragic time. And I said to myself, well, I was the provider of the home. I didn't have a lot of choices. There was not a lot of opportunities then. So I stood there until the right time for me to leave. And when the world became a better place, and I made a huge sacrifice. But I knew I couldn't work there anymore because I knew that the longer I work there, I'm going to be mentally, emotionally drained. And when I realized my mental health comes before any job, and that was a rude awakening for me to learn that. To learn that there's other opportunities for me out there. To learn that I'm a great worker and there's going to be my manager who's going to appreciate my job and appreciate who am I. So it was a hard decision for me to make since I was a provider at home and I had a few save I had a good amount of savings where I could say I can't work here anymore. I can't do this job. And I felt like I had my power back. When you leave a toxic work environment, you have your power back. You feel at the time that you don't have your power back, but you do. And it gives you the most amount of relief when you decide when you decide that you cannot be in that work environment anymore. So once the world opened up, And once people got their jobs back, um, I just quit. I told her, listen, it's not working for me. You're not giving me any raise. There's a huge turnover. And I said, I can't do this anymore. And at the time, I was also battling with my sister, and she had COVID. So I was dealing with my personal issues with that. And she wasn't supportive, my manager, even though I shared that I was going through a lot personally. She didn't care. And I understand that it's a business, and I'm not saying to give me any excuses, but at least to have that compassion because you know what? I was there with her for overtime when she needed it. I was there if she needed any projects that for me to complete. And then I had to train somebody else as well, which I didn't get any money for that and any extra. So I said to myself, and you have, and the thing is with the when you're in a toxic work environment, you have to learn, you have to set boundaries. Because if you don't set boundaries, it will get worse for you. And with the world becoming, as you know, during the pandemic, as the world was becoming the way it was, I really didn't feel like I had that power to set boundaries because now I had to take care of myself emotionally and mentally to prepare myself to work in that work environment. But I felt so at ease when I left that company. And I promised myself that I would not work in a toxic environment again. So when I left that company, I didn't have any other opportunities. And for the grace of God, I got another opportunity within a month. And that didn't work out so well. And I was searching for another company. And this company, it was closer to home. The other company, again, it was around the pandemic and there was a lot of layoffs. And I got scared and I said, I left a job that was permanent and now I have another opportunity, but there's a huge layoff. What do you do? And I felt again overwhelmed. I really didn't know. I didn't have a lot of resources or it was around the pandemic. So I took some time off. At the same time, I am taking care of my mother and she's very ill. So I had to deal with that as well. So I had a lot of personal issues as well. And I left that company and I went to this other company thinking that was a better opportunity for me. And it was another hard company to work for. It was another toxic work environment. It didn't start off like that, but it became that way. And I had a great relationship with the other supervisor that I was working for at the time, and she was showing me a lot. I was like, oh, great, I could put this in my resume, I can build myself up, I could see myself in other opportunities for this company. And to and at the time, I'm seeing, there's a great work environment to a limit because the other person I was working for, it was just like she had a lot of personal issues. And listen, I get it, everybody has personal issues, but don't expect me to be overworked because now I don't have another worker or another team worker. And that's what happened. It was um, a constant thing. And what and this is around the pandemic as well, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to set my boundaries with this manager. And I did. I told her what was going to work for me, what was not going to work for me. So then now there's a huge layoff. As you know, these companies, they do huge layoffs. They don't care who they're laying off. My supervisor was working there for 20 years and or 20 plus years, and it was like layoffs. They were ramping the whole community, the whole organization. And what's sad about this organization that I work for, this is a humble business. When I say it's a humble business, people are dying all the time. And I really don't want to say what's the type of business, but it's a business for afterlife. And it was nothing humbling about that. The leaders were treating you like garbage. The nurses on the fields were being overworked without no compassion, without no care. Um, and those nurses didn't last long either. And I said, "Oh my goodness, this is terrible." And to wake up every morning, not to wake up every morning to be in a toxic environment, that is a struggle. You got to keep on giving yourself pep talks. If you believe in the faith, you got to open up your Bible scriptures. You got to organize yourself to be in a place where you're going to say, you know what? Today is going to be a good day. Even though you feel that going into that place is going to mentally drain you, but you have to keep on believing it was a good day for you, even though there was going to be chaos coming to you. I was working for a manager that was terrible, terrible. She came in, I helped her, trained her, and at the time, I really didn't know about the business, so I didn't apply for the management position. And I saw how the movements were in that company, so I didn't want to have a management position there because I didn't see myself growing in that company where there's a layoffs and people working there for 20 years and you see that they didn't give a damn about them. And I said, I'm not going to work for an organization. And what's sad about it is it's a nonprofit organization on top of that with afterlife and dealing with patients that are not going to last too long. And it was just really sad. And then the leaders that were working in that organization, they didn't give a damn. You hardly saw them in the office. So when you see that and you see an overload in your job and you do as much as you can and they still don't appreciate you and they still give you a hard time, and no matter, as I stated before, no matter what you do, if a leader doesn't like you, that is it. There's no way they're going to change their mind. And if that leader is a toxic person, the way she was, it still is not going to help you. So, what I've learned is that there's other opportunities out there, even though you have to pay your bills, even though you rely on this paycheck. This is not the only job on the planet. And I learned that the hard way. And what you have to learn as well is that your mental health is more important than your work health. I'm sorry. Your mental health is more important than being a job where you're not happy. Being a job where you're not acknowledged. Being a job with the same paying rate and you ask them for a raise and they give you 101 excuses when you know what you're bringing to the table. And once you know what you're bringing to the table and the person you are, it's time to leave. It's time to get an opportunity for yourself because that's what you need to do. The life is too short for you not to enjoy what you're doing, not loving what you're doing, and working for a company that doesn't give a damn about you. So, you have to learn yourself that this is not the position or opportunity for you. And once you find your opportunity and once you notice that I can't do this anymore, you're going to be in a better place. And there's going to be an opportunity that's going to acknowledge you, that you're going to be in a great team, that you're going to have a manager that is going to support, train you to be a better working version of you. And there's a lot of opportunities like that. There's a lot of opportunities where you're not working in a toxic work environment. Of course, there's going to be some baloney that you have to deal with, but to a certain level. To a certain level. And creating those boundaries and saying the powerful word no, getting your power back, you're off to a great start. Because no one, no company, no leader, no management should ever take your power out of you at all. And once you see that this opportunity is not for you, you need to make the decision to move on, to move on. That is the best gift you can give yourself. And I did. I did that. And now I work for a great environment. Now I work with great team players. I have a great relationship with my manager. So there is hope. There is opportunities out there that's going to give you what you deserve at the end. But only you can believe that in yourself. And only you can work and find a work that you are going to be happy in. Because there's nothing in this world to collect a paycheck and you're not happy in that job and you don't love what you do, and that's just not the way, because you're going to spend most of the time, yeah, basically you spend all your time at work, more than you do with your family, and you deserve to be in a happy work environment. You really should. And once you get that opportunity, you're going to be in a much happier, mental, stable place. Until next time.